Good morning, everybody. Good morning and welcome to this important conference, the final conference on plastic busters, marine protected areas, which will consolidate the results and the efforts of this important project. It is a great pleasure and honor for me to welcome you and to introduce the speakers of the first session, of the opening session. In this historic building is the first building ever built just for the Olympic Games. It was built through a donation by Zappas in preparation of the first Olympic Games of 1896. And what is important is that the building was ready 10 years in advance of the Olympic Games. So this is important for everybody to know. And we have with us people from all the region, and I'm very grateful for all of you who are here. Our first speaker is sitting next to me, is Mrs. Dionysia-Theodora Avgerinopoulou, the chairperson of the special permanent parliamentary committee on the environmental protection, and the subcommittee of water resources of the Hellenic Parliament. She has been also the chairperson of the Circle of Mediterranean Parliamentarians, and it is a great pleasure and honor to ask her to address her.
Thank you very much. Your Excellencies, dear President of COMPSUD, dear Professor, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very happy to welcome you in Athens and at this closing conference today. This is one of the very first international conferences of its kind being hosted in the city for a long time, and this adds a particular significance to it. But what the Plastic Busters MPAs project has achieved and will be presented over the next day and a half are even more important, given the efforts to consolidate the Mediterranean efforts against marine litter, and especially in marine protected areas and along the entire management cycle of marine litter, from monitoring and assessment to prevention and mitigation measures. I myself represent a coastal region of the Western Peloponnese in Greece, the Olympic region, birthplace of the Olympic Games. And along with other major threats and challenges we face there, such as coastal erosion, forest fires, and other direct and indirect impacts of climate change, minimizing marine litter in the Mediterranean Sea and in our region is a top priority for us. Marine litter affects the good environmental status of our sea and coasts, especially marine biodiversity, our tourism, and other productive sectors. It is a real headache for both the local economies and the local communities and threatens our quality of life. I'm sure that you are as keen as I am, among other things, to hear about the outcomes of the demonstration and replication actions and the overall policy recommendations that have resulted from the Plastic Busters MPAs project. The role and responsibility of us, politicians, and other elected officials is significant in taking these recommendations and making them happen. But we need to work together throughout the region, and we need to work together throughout other platforms such as COMPSUD, the Circle of the Mediterranean Parliamentarians for Sustainable Development, of which me, Mo, and other participants here are active members. These platforms will enable us to work in both an informed and consolidated way. And I'm very pleased to have with us today the chair of COMPSUD, Professor Rejdali, on this very important occasion. Welcome once again in Greece. We're so honored that you're here. The fact that the closing conference of Plastic Busters MPAs is hosting this afternoon special session for the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding between UNEP and COMPSUD that includes joint efforts to address marine litter challenge and the protection of biodiversity signifies for us a very strong and concrete commitment of making things happen. Thank you very much for being in Athens today. Enjoy the work and, of course, our city. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Avgerinopoulou. And unfortunately, the Secretary General, Mr. Varelidis, from the Special Secretariat for Water of the Hellenic Ministry, couldn't make it at the last minute. So Mrs. Maria Gini, who is next to me, is going to deliver some messages from him.
Thank you, Chairman. Well, I would like to welcome you to Greece also, ladies and gentlemen. And I am the head of Directorate for Management and Protection of Waters at the Ministry of Energy and Environment. On behalf of our Secretary of Natural Environment and Water, Mr. Petros Varelidis, I would like to convey his greetings to the meeting and the conference, and to inform you that due to some obligations, he was unable to come here today. The Plastic Busters project for conservation of biodiversity in marine protected areas, which adopted and implemented under the Interreg Med program, aims first to maintain biodiversity and also to support natural ecosystems in coastal and pelagic marine protected areas of the Mediterranean. Setting out implementing a harmonized approach to tackling the problem of the marine litter. The project provides actions that are holistic to the marine litter management cycle, from monitoring and evaluation to conservation and reduction of the marine litter. The characteristics actions that are included in the program is first, establishment of a concerted and coordinated action plan to address the marine litter in protected marine parks in the Mediterranean. Second is pilot application to identify sources and assess the impact of marine litter on the protected marine parks of the study areas. And third, promotion of institutional initiatives based on the result of the program at local, at regional, and at national level to achieve the good environmental status of marine waters with a focus on protected areas. The General Secretariat of the Ministry is one of the partners of the project, which project is a transitional, as I said before, Interreg Med cooperation program, had a duration of 4 years, is ending in this present year, 2022, and has a total budget about 5 million euros. In summary, the main objectives of the project are the following. First, strengthening project results and further develop them by promoting initiatives and institutional absorption at national level in order to achieve the good environmental status of the country's waters. Second, facilitating efforts of policymakers and decision makers, also stakeholders, as well as the development of a program of measures in order to succeed the aims of the project. And third, the implementation of key legislation, EU policies, and other relevant and regional policy frameworks. The ministry now, what is the role of the ministry in the project? We have undertaken the package 6, which includes preparation of the guidelines for this part of work, I mean package 6, arranging workshops, organization of a conference to capitalize the results of this project, the conference that we are having today, organization of meetings for the dissemination of information, replenishment of communication channels in the media, newsletters, press kit, etc. This is the role of the ministry. Now I am going to refer to some actions that we have undertaken in the ministry, which are directly connected to the project, and some others which are indirectly connected. First of all, the ministry, and especially our Directorate of Protection and Management of Waters, is responsible for applying the framework directive for marine waters. So in this directive, there is an indicator D10, which is dealing with a good environmental status. So this action is directly connected to our program today. And some other actions in our ministry, which are indirectly connected, the ministry is responsible for monitoring the quality of the marine waters, especially swimming waters, okay, ensuring excellent quality of our coast and waters of the shores according to the Directive 7 of 2006. Also, in extent, we participate to the program of blue flags by issuing awards to the shores which have first excellent quality of water, but not only that, they do have also excellent accommodation and infrastructures. Also issuing awards, except of the cost for swimming waters, to some marines and also to some ships lately issued awards in such a different way, such an extension, I would say. Well, going back to the project, the current conference will include and make full use of knowledge, know-how and experience resulting from the implementation of the demonstration and replication of actions related to the entire marine litter management cycle. When I say entire, I mean monitoring and evaluation and prevention and mitigation of impacts of marine litter. Therefore, today's event will present the most recent policy and scientific advance on marine litter in the Mediterranean, and will give the opportunity to create synergies and to encourage exchanges between stakeholders active in the field of science, policy, and society. And I hope from the heart a good start and a good follow-up to this important and essential conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Gini, and I thank you personally for the very close cooperation for the organization of this conference. Thank you very much indeed.
It's my pleasure.
And we are moving now to the chairperson of COMPSUD, Professor Rejdali, who has vast experience also in the areas of waste, because apart from being a member of the Moroccan parliament, for many years he was also a mayor of one of the important cities of Morocco. So he knows very well the problem and the solutions.
Thanks, Mr. Chair, Your Excellencies, dear ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues from Greece, Europe, the Eastern and Southern Mediterranean and elsewhere. I am really very pleased to welcome you to the Plastic Busters in Mediterranean Protected Areas Capitalization Conference. I am Professor Rejdali, Professor of Botany, Biodiversity and Phytogenetic Resources Conservation at the Institute of Agronomy and Veterinary Medicine in Rabat. And as Professor Scoullos said, former president of the council of one of the big cities of Morocco, Temara, which is next to Rabat, the capital city. I am very glad to be in Athens today after this harsh and very long period, and especially in this conference with very many of you, or all of you, who are devoted to this problem of the Mediterranean and striving to improve things in our beloved region. Today, I feel privileged to welcome you, along with the rest of the esteemed panelists, to this important event that marks the closing of the Plastic Busters MPAs project. We will, I am sure, all hear first-hand the findings and recommendations of the projects. What are the recommendations of the project? And we are thankful for the tremendous work and effort that has been done and invested by the project team to deliver the expected result despite all the obstacles posed by the pandemic. For the members of COMPSUD, parliamentarians from most Mediterranean countries with a genuine concern for the sustainable development of the region, evidence-based guidance on how to effectively address the marine plastic pollution change is highly needed. And projects such as Plastic Busters MPAs are doing exactly this by addressing the entire management cycle of marine litter and focusing on the science policy society interface. I look forward to learning from all that will be presented, and I am particularly pleased that the European Union has wisely foreseen through the neighborhood CBC Med program the further capitalization of the progress achieved through the recent launched Plastic Busters CAP project and the Med for Waste project too, on the advisory board with COMPSUD participants, in which, of course, COMPSUD participates. Just before the pandemic, in December 2019, COMPSUD held the 14th meeting in Rabat. And the meeting's declaration very specifically recognized the gravity of the marine litter problem and the attribution of plastics to it, including biodegradable ones, and committed to support a legally binding agreement at global level and the urgent introduction of specific legislation for phasing out single-use plastics. In parallel, it's committed to promote reduction, reuse, recycling systems and at municipal levels, but also industrial sector level, agriculture, tourism, etc. Introducing formal, non-formal, and informal education for sustainable development with the involvement of many stakeholders because we think that the involvement of many stakeholders is a prerequisite for all of the above to be successful. COMPSUD, with its close links to governments, NGOs, media, academia, as well as regional processes and project fields, validated by its decision to support and contribute to the Plastic Busters MPAs project since it's launched till today. And thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Rejdali, and for all what you said and linking it to the recommendations of the meeting in Morocco. The last we had physical meeting, and thank you for you are with us also today in this first physical meeting again in Athens. Let me now turn to my colleague, the distinguished professor of the University of Athens, Mr. Nikos Thomaidis, to address you.
Thank you very much, Professor Scoullos, for your kind invitation to represent the National and Capodistrian University of Athens to this exceptional and timely conference on marine litter and marine plastic pollution. Dear Mrs. Avgerinopoulou, member of the Hellenic Parliament, dear invited guests, distinguished professors, dear colleagues and delegates. The Department of Chemistry of the National and Capodistrian University of Athens has introduced the topic of marine litter and plastics pollution since the 80s, a pioneering action and initiative by Professor Scoullos. Today, the problem is even more serious than those days because the pandemic imposed us the use of face masks, self-test kits, gloves, on a daily basis. It was calculated in the 2020 that 89 million masks and more than 77 million gloves were used per hour globally. The situation was even worse the next year. Therefore, marine litter is everywhere and microplastics are produced due to degradation and distributed in the marine environment and then in the food web. And moreover, an even neglected problem is the adsorption of toxic chemicals on the microplastics and therefore biomagnification of these chemicals in the food web, food chain, and then to our body. Of course, biodiversity is in danger through this situation. Therefore, this conference is timely and highly important. Today, we have also the opportunity to discuss about the actions that should be taken. And of course, the issue of sustainable development in the frame of Green Deal, which is, of course, a European strategy and very timely due to pandemic. In that framework, the University of Athens and the Yale University has signed an MOU for the development of a Center of Excellence for the Environment and Public Health, and a special action is designed for the green chemistry and sustainability. Therefore, we are in a new era It needs a large scale of cooperation for these new challenges, and NGOs like MIO Federation, universities, and large-scale public bodies need to be aligned in order to face the new challenges of this era. Therefore, we have the duty to ensure this for the future of our children and the planet. Therefore, I thank you very much for this conference. I wish success to your work.
Thank you, Nikos, and thank also our rector who is taking new steps, because this year for the University of Athens will be the year of climate change. So I think it is evident that the oldest university of Athens, the oldest university of the country, University of Athens, is leading actually also in the area we are discussing today. Today's event brings together really many important actors, speakers, partners, supporters of the Plastic Busters project, and also the co-organizer. It is co-organized, as we've heard, by the Greek Ministry of the Environment and Energy, and also the Mediterranean Information Office for Environment, Culture and Sustainable Development, MIO, which is a federation of 133 Mediterranean environmental non-governmental organizations, among them many big federations like the European Environment Bureau and the Arab Network for Environment and Development. And let me welcome here the chair, Mr. Rejdali from the south. This means that this federation, not directly, but through its membership, approaches many million of citizens, more than 6 million citizens. And it is an important voice of the Mediterranean. So it is important that we, as it was said, come together, academia, governments, parliaments, in order to address important problems. With MIO, allow me to say that MIO is also one of the major partners in the network of the UNESCO chair at the University of Athens on Sustainable Development Management and Education of the Mediterranean. And as Professor Thomaidis said, our department started working on marine litter in the early 80s, at a time that even scientists didn't consider marine litter as a real problem or a threatening actually problem. Now I come to another co-organizer and the heart of the project, which is the University of Siena and also ISPRA. And let me here stress that when my good colleague and friend, Professor Cristina Fossi, approached me, the team leader of the project, approached me for the first time for a joint project on marine litter, we both agreed that we wanted to try to formulate a project combining very high caliber research, bringing together prominent groups like the ones around here, but also to have environmentally useful, socially meaningful, and politically implementable results. And I'm very glad. I would like to thank Cristina for her leadership, because indeed, and despite the difficulties of pandemic and many other things these years, the program has achieved its objectives. I hope that will continue, Cristina, for the south of the Mediterranean and the entire Mediterranean for the next phase. And Cristina is not only the only lady I would like to thank. I would in this project, I would like also to thank Ms. Marcato for her contribution. But also, I would like to mention that one of the first things we wanted to obtain with Christina was the label of the Union for the Mediterranean. And here I would like to thank Mrs. Alessandra Sensi for her strong support towards this direction. This label, in fact, encouraged ministries like the Ministry of Greece, but other ministries of Albania, Croatia, and others, to be institutional partners responsible for packages, and at the same time use the results, which, as Mrs. Gini said, are indeed the most up-to-date results we have on marine litter today, in integrating this into their policies and marine strategies. And we are very proud for that. The project also both contributed to, but also benefited from, the close collaboration with UNEP-MAP, the United Nations Environment Programme, the Action Plan, and the SCP-RAC Center. And here I would like to thank yet another lady who is not with us at this moment, Mrs. Tatiana Hema, the coordinator of UNEP-MAP. We have Mr. Akimidis taking the floor in the next session. And I know that the results of the Plastic Buster project will be further utilized for the advancement of the relevant regional plan of UNEP-MAP. But let me mention that also in my capacity as team leader of the EU-funded water environment support, the WES project, and its predecessor, SWIM Horizon 2020, we have managed to expand the impact of plastic busters to the Mediterranean South. And pilot monitorings, other activities, pilot activities, including some also in the Western Balkans with the soup-free beach bars, fishing of plastics and other things, many more that you'll have the opportunity to hear, allowed us to really profit from this project and expand and disseminate the project. And also, at this moment, allow me to thank yet another lady, my close collaborator, Mrs. Thomi Vlachogianni. To close my introduction, I would like once again to thank Mrs. Avgerinopoulou, because she didn't mention that she has organized several meetings and hearings in the Parliament where we have been invited and contributed. And the fact that MIO is so closely linked with the academic and research community helps very much in translating the scientific results into policies. So in the science policy interface, what was said by Professor Rejdali, whom I thank also again, is that it is very important, he mentioned that, it's very important to have not just the scientists, but the entire public informed. So I would like to mention that COMPSUD is responsible for a flagship program of the Mediterranean Commission of Sustainable Development, part of the Mediterranean Strategy of Sustainable Development, on environmental information of the public participation and access to justice. And we advocate the accession of all countries of the region to the Aarhus Convention. And this afternoon, between 5 and 6, will have the high level segment with the signature of a memorandum of understanding between COMPSUD and UNEP-MAP and in this very room. And I hope that all of you will be here to attend this interesting event. So without saying more, I would like once again to thank all of you and wish you a very fruitful meeting.